Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So we're just sort of odd jobbing again this week, getting some of the smaller jobs done and out of the way. So first job, another baler flywheel. I've actually got 6 of these in at the moment. I did 2 yesterday. I get some more done today. I've done a video on these before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's just the bush that the shear bolt goes through, the hole. When the shear bolt goes, it must break the bush or it puts stress on the hole and it makes the hole out around, and then it just keeps cracking these bushes. So what I do is I put them on my big mill, drill them through and then ream them through, and then make a steel bush that's interference fit, put that in, put a grub screw in to hold it in, and then fix the hole back to round again, and then it holds onto the bush properly. You can see this one's got a bit chipped out of it, but I think by the time I drilled it out and reamed it, most of that were gone. But we'll sit it on the mill, see, we might have to put a bit of weld in there. So I'll get it put on the mill, get it set up, and then get that done. That's fastened down onto the mill now, so I put that in there, just sort of sit it in, and then I use the edge finder to find the middle of that, and then drill it through. That's that hole drilled out and reamed out to 35mm then. So there is a little bit there left at the dimple, but I don't think it's enough to cause an issue. So that'll be alright as it is. Next job, we'll go across onto the lathe and we'll turn a bush down to fit into that hole. So I make the outside diameter slightly too big, so it's sort of an interference fit into the hole. And then the hole in the middle, I make it slightly oversized, and then when it's squashed into the hole, it sort of compensates for the hole being oversized. It sort of shrinks it down. I do measure every hole as well with a snap gauge and a micrometer, just to make sure they're all the same and get me tolerances right. I'll just measure this first actually before I start on the lathe, see what that measures. that's that machined up then, so it just wants a bit of hand dressing off for the file. And then I've been gluing them in as well. I've been using some bearing set to stick them in with. So yeah, give that a bit of file off and then knock that in there. That's that knocked into there now, so that's flush with the top of there. So now we'll drill a little hole at the side of it and put in a 6mm grub screw just to hold it in, because these are interference fit, so I don't want that bush to be knocked out instead of this one. So if you put a grub screw in, then it can't come out, then you're only knocking this out and not that as well. So I put the drill in, put the truck back in and put the drill in, and then I usually move across 18.5mm, and then the grub screw is more into the flywheel than it is into the bush, and it's not taking any strength out of the bush, so it's just sort of the threads that are holding it in, and it's not half and half. Right, that's that drilled and tapped and a grub screw thread locked in. Then I've just tapped the bush in to make sure it's a nice fit, which it is. I always make sure the bush fits every time I do one, just to make sure it's right. Sometimes I have to sand a little bit out of them if they're too tight. I aren't really sure how tight they're supposed to be because I've never had a good flywheel to compare it off or to measure off. But I've never had any complaints, so I'm guessing they must be about right. Obviously that bush goes in from the other side because there's like the head on the bush like that, which fits into like a recess that I machine into the bush. I've just put it in from this side just to make sure it fits. So yeah, I'll take it off the mill now and I'll knock that back out again. And I usually send them back without a bush in them, and then I've got these to measure off and to try. So yeah, I'll get this lifted off now and get on with the other ones. I'm not going to record the other ones because you've already seen me do it. But if I get the other three done at the same time, then it can take all 6 back at once. I'll just knock that bush out, so that's what it looks like from that side, and then that's what it looks like from that side. So yeah, take that back out now, get on with the next one, and I'll see you on with the next job. Right, so we have a little job to do on these wheel centres. So these need altering, I did have it written on here, to the hole in the middle needs making bigger to 290mm, and it needs a new set of holes making or cutting to 330 PCD. Now, I was thinking about doing it on the milling machine, drilling the holes on the milling machine and using the DRO to get the holes in the right place, but then that's going to take a bit of working out because the new holes need to go sort of in the middle of where the old holes are. The hole in the middle still needs cutting out anyway, so I think I might do it all on the CNC plasma. So I think what I'll do first is I'll cut a circle out to fit in there with a centre mark already in it, tack that in there, and then I can line the plasma torch up with the hole in the middle, and then I can sort of turn it round until I've got the torch in the middle of between there, and then set it off and cut them out. The only thing I'm not sure about is the new centre hole will be cutting through them holes, so I'm not quite sure how it will react when it gets into the hole. It'll probably stop and then I'll have to restart it again for each one. Anyway, we'll cut a hole out in the middle. We'll cut a circle out first to go in the middle. So I have some, these are like off-cut bits of 3mm I've used. That was a middle out of something else. So I'm cut my circle out of one of them. So I've got a new iPhone as well that I'm recording this with. I got a new one yesterday. You probably won't notice any difference, but that's the one I usually record with. That's a iPhone 16 Pro Max. Then my new one is a 16 Pro. Good thing with iPhones is you can just file transfer the videos from one phone to the other. So it's really easy to transfer files. Right, I've got this cut, and I also put a straight line mark on it there as well as a centre mark. So I just had to go around it a little bit on the belt sander to get it to fit in there. And it's still quite a tight fit. I think it should knock in. So I'll have to turn this over because it's too tall for the torch to cut from this side, so I'll have to cut from the other side. So I'll put that in there, tack it in, and then I can use that line there to work out where the middle of the holes are, and then line the torch off it as well. that's that disc in there then. I think that's near enough in the middle. Doesn't matter too much. Maybe you want to go that way a little bit, but be all right. So yeah, we'll sit that now on the plasma table. I'll sit it on that bit of plate. Line the torch up with the middle of there, and then see if I can sort of get it to follow that line down. And then I know that my first hole is going to be there. That's set up on there now, so I've sat it straight on here rather than on the bit of plate because it'd be cutting through the bit of plate as well. So yeah, I've got that centralised best I can and moved it to there, and it sort of follows that line down near enough. So yeah, hopefully we should be good to go now. And then I've got that set up to start from the middle and then cut the holes out and then cut the middle out. When it comes to cutting the centre out, I might have to turn the torch control off, because when it comes to one of them holes, the original bolt holes, because there's no steel to cut, it tries to lower the torch, thinking that the steel is lower than what it is lower, even though there's none there. And then it'll probably catch, and I don't want it to move it if it lowers it when it goes over a hole and then it puts the torch into the hole. I don't want it to move the rim. that's them cut out then. So for some reason the hole was cut out fine, and then when it got to there, when I was cutting these out, it did what I thought it would do. It stopped when it got to the holes, and then I had to move it on manually to the edge of the hole and start again. For some reason, when I got to there, it wasn't earthing properly, so I had to put the earth clamp directly into the centre, and it went all right. But a few bits I need to clean up. But that seems to have done it all right. So I'll lift that out now and yeah, check it, make sure it's all right, clean them bits up. So again, that clean up, and I'd say that's all right. Fortunately, I don't have a tractor to try it on, so the customer will have to try it, but hopefully it should be right. So yeah, I'll do the other one now. I probably won't record the other one because you've seen the process. I'll take that out of there, do exactly the same thing again. What I could do is I could cut some little circles out and tack them into them holes, and then it'd cut this out all in one go. But I think by the time I've done that, it's quicker just to manually move it on a little bit and do what I was doing. Right, that's that one done as well. And I found a wheel stud, 18mm wheel stud. And that fits in all them. So I did have to just tickle them out with a die grinder a tiny bit, like the bottom of the hole, which is now this side. There must have been a bit of taper on them. But anyway, that's sorted. The other one I've already taken outside. That's the centre out of one, and that's the centre out of the other. I think they're near enough, bang on. Tractor wheels aren't that precise anyway, so it doesn't matter too much if they're a couple of mil out. I think they're about bang on. that's that done. Take that out and then the customer can come and collect them. That is all for this week. I did put a post up, some of you seen it, some of you might not, about setting up a second channel for some of my projects. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I didn't want to put so much of my projects on this channel because I didn't want to sort of wander off too much from the engineering for what you're all here to see. So the second channel would be sort of tractor pulling stuff and like my little grey Fergie. And then I've just bought a BMW 335D that needs some engine work doing on it. So yeah, thinking of setting up a second channel. The second channel would just be as and when. It wouldn't be every week like this channel is. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that and what I should call it. Something like Snowball Projects or Snowball 2 or something like that. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time.